Picture this. You're in a heated argument. Your opponent is shouting, gesturing wildly, desperately trying to prove their point. And then there's you, silent, unmoved, watching. Within seconds, you've already won. Today, we're diving into the darkest psychological weapon that exists: silence. And why those who master it control every mind game they encounter. Today, we're exploring one of the most devastating psychological tactics known to human behavior: the strategic use of silence. This isn't about being quiet. This is about weaponizing the absence of words to manipulate, control, and dominate every social interaction you enter. Research from neuroscience shows that silence triggers specific brain responses, activating the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and anterior insula, the same regions that process physical pain. When you remain silent, you're literally causing psychological discomfort in your opponent's brain. They feel it as real pain. Let's start with what happens inside the brain when confronted with silence. Dr. Zhou Ziqian's neural self-information theory reveals that our brains use the silence between neural firing to encrypt information. But when that silence comes from another person, it creates uncertainty. Uncertainty triggers anxiety by engaging front cortical and subcortical brain regions. Your opponent's mind starts racing, filling in the blanks, creating scenarios that may not even exist. This is where you gain control, not through what you say, but through what you don't say. When someone expects a response and receives silence instead, their brain interprets this as social exclusion. The same neural pathways that process physical pain light up. You're not just ignoring them. You're causing them genuine psychological distress without lifting a finger. The beauty of this tactic lies in its subtlety. While they're experiencing internal chaos, you remain calm, collected, and in complete control of the situation. Now let's examine why cold personalities consistently win these psychological battles. Cold individuals possess emotional detachment, a trait that provides massive strategic advantages in any conflict or negotiation. While others are driven by emotions, making impulsive decisions and revealing their weaknesses, cold people remain objective. They see the situation clearly, without the fog of emotional interference. This clarity allows them to identify their opponent's vulnerabilities and exploit them systematically. Research shows that emotional detachment enables quicker recovery from setbacks and reduces obsession over negative events. When someone attacks you verbally or tries to manipulate you, your cold response, or lack thereof, immediately shifts the power dynamic. Your opponent expects an emotional reaction. They've prepared for anger, defensiveness, or pleading. But silence? They have no counter-strategy for silence. This unexpected response throws them off balance, forcing them to question their approach and, ultimately, their own power in the interaction. Silence isn't just a communication tool. It's a weapon of psychological warfare. Military strategists have long understood that the most effective attacks often come from what isn't done, rather than what is done. When you remain silent during an accusation, you force your accuser to confront their own words echoing in the void. This creates self-doubt. They begin questioning whether their attack was justified, whether they have enough evidence, whether they're making themselves look foolish. This is what psychologists call the power flip. By not defending yourself, you make your accuser work harder to justify their position. They must fill the silence with more accusations, more explanations, more desperation. With each word they speak into your silence, they lose credibility and you gain it. Machiavelli wrote about this psychological mastery. the ability to control through non-action. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their insecurities, their need for validation, their weakness back at them. The silent treatment, when used strategically, taps into deep-seated fears of rejection and abandonment. It exploits the fundamental human need for connection and communication. By withholding what they desperately want, your response, you gain leverage over their emotional state. Let's break down exactly how silence manipulates the human psyche. When you remain silent, you create what psychologists call cognitive load in your opponent's mind. They must work harder to process the interaction, to understand your intentions, to predict your next move. This mental effort is exhausting. While they're burning cognitive resources trying to decode your silence, you're conserving your energy, staying sharp, maintaining your advantage. Silence also forces projection. When people don't know what you're thinking, they project their own fears, insecurities, and assumptions onto you. They reveal more about themselves in their attempts to understand your silence than they ever would in normal conversation. This information becomes your ammunition. Every assumption they make, every fear they reveal, every weakness they expose while trying to break your silence gives you more power over them. The key is timing. Strategic silence isn't about never speaking. It's about choosing when your words will have maximum impact. When you finally do speak after a period of calculated silence, your words carry exponentially more weight. In negotiations, silence is your secret weapon. While your opponent fills the quiet with concessions, justifications, and reveals their bottom line, you gather intelligence. Sales professionals know that whoever speaks first after stating a price usually loses. In relationships, strategic silence can reset power dynamics. When someone is trying to manipulate you through emotional outbursts or guilt trips, your calm silence forces them to confront their own behavior. They can't manipulate what doesn't react. In workplace conflicts, silence demonstrates confidence and control. While others scramble to defend themselves or attack back, your silence suggests you're above the drama, that their words don't deserve your energy. This positions you as the mature, composed professional. The most powerful people in any room are often the ones who speak the least. They listen, observe, calculate their next move. They understand that information is power, and silence is how you collect it without giving anything away. In negotiations, silence creates what researchers call emotional anxiety in your opponent. They feel compelled to fill the void, often revealing their bottom line or making concessions they never intended to make. Harvard negotiation experts confirm that strategic silence shifts the information balance in your favor. In relationships, strategic silence can reset power dynamics completely. When someone is trying to manipulate you through emotional outbursts or guilt trips, your calm silence forces them to confront their own behavior. They cannot manipulate what does not react. In workplace conflicts, silence demonstrates confidence and control. While others scramble to defend themselves or attack back, your silence suggests you are above the drama, that their words do not deserve your energy. This positions you as the mature, composed professional. Remember, in any psychological battle, the person who needs the interaction least holds all the power. Your silence communicates that you do not need their validation, their approval, or their response. This independence is psychologically threatening to those who rely on external reactions to feel powerful. But here's where it gets truly dark. Master manipulators do not just use silence defensively. they use it to program others. By selectively responding and selectively ignoring, you can condition people's behavior like training an animal. When someone does something you want, you reward them with your attention, your words, your presence. When they displease you, you withdraw into silence. Over time, they begin modifying their behavior to earn your response. They become addicted to breaking your silence. This is psychological conditioning at its most sophisticated level. You are not just winning individual mind games. You are reprogramming how people interact with you permanently. They learn that your attention is valuable, that your words carry weight, that your silence has meaning. Studies in behavioral psychology show that intermittent reinforcement, responding sometimes but not always, creates the strongest psychological dependency. Your unpredictable silence becomes more powerful than consistent communication ever could be. The truly cold understand that silence is not the absence of communication. It is the most powerful form of communication that exists. Research shows that those subjected to strategic silence experience what psychologists call cognitive deconstruction. Their ability to think clearly becomes impaired. While their mind races to fill the void you have created, you remain in complete control of your cognitive resources. This is why cold people always win. They do not just use silence as a tactic. They embody it as a philosophy. They understand that true power is not demonstrated through words or actions, but through the deliberate absence of both. Every time someone tries to provoke you and receives nothing but your calm, calculating silence in return, you have won. Not just the argument, not just the moment, but a piece of their psychological territory. The most successful interrogators, negotiators, and psychological manipulators throughout history have understood this fundamental truth. Silence is not empty space. It is concentrated power waiting to be unleashed. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their emotional chaos, remember this. The person who controls the silence controls the game. While they are speaking, you are learning. While they are reacting, you are calculating. While they are losing composure, you are gaining power. The ancient masters knew this truth. The most dangerous person in any room is not the one making the most noise. It is the one who has been watching you this entire time, studying your reactions, learning your weaknesses, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and you never even noticed.